Hello, my name is Britta Bushnell, and I am the author of Transformed by Birth. And the subtitle is Cultivating Openness, Resilience, and Strength for the Life-Changing Journey from Pregnancy to Parenthood. I'm excited to be here today to talk with you a little bit about Transformed by Birth. And specifically, I'm excited to do this for Boulder Bookstore. I remember when I was in Boulder to record the audiobook with my publisher, Sounds True, that I came into the Boulder bookstore and there on the side were all the Sounds True books. And it was really exciting for me to imagine Transformed by Birth being on that special space where the Sounds True authors were situated. So it's a profound honor to be here. So I'm going to answer some questions that Boulder Bookstore sent my way so that we can engage a little bit about Transformed by Birth and what it is that I share in that book. So Transformed by Birth is a book specifically for parents on the journey toward birth. As they're pregnant, potentially in a couple or perhaps on their own, but moving toward that transformative experience of giving birth and becoming a parent. It can be great for parents who are having a second child. I've actually heard from people who have said, wow, it really helped me reframe my first birth to read it in preparation for my second birth. And it is intended for first timers in particular. And while my book does address information and specifics for birth, it really looks specifically at the interpersonal and relational changes that happen when we go through the process of becoming a parent. And so in this way, it goes beyond dilation and mechanics, although I do address both of those things in the book. I'm really exploring what's happening inside. What happens to the identity of an individual who becomes a parent, and that process of getting ready to give birth, how that can support you in that transition from being an individual to being a parent, as well as supporting your relationship as a couple for the transformations that it also goes through. So let's see, what inspired me to write this book? Oh, so many things. I have a PhD in mythology with an emphasis in psychology. And this degree is really about the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. And the process of going from pregnancy through birth and into parenthood is a rite of passage, a journey like that of the caterpillar into the chrysalis and coming out the butterfly. This process we often skip through quickly. We talk about the very hungry caterpillar going through and eating and preparing, which is much like parents eating information and getting ready for the process of giving birth, preparing space, preparing their bodies, preparing medically. And then, like the book, we move quickly from the very hungry caterpillar to, one page, and out comes the butterfly. Well, the journey to becoming a parent actually takes much longer and is a deeper process. That process of being within the chrysalis or the cocoon is a process of great transfiguration, great change. And as such, it really deserves the honor of having time and attention given to that. And so that's one of the main things that inspired me to write this, is the the process that I went through in my graduate studies, yeah, in mythology, and seeing the power of stories. And I wrote my dissertation very much about the process and about the what I called cultural ideals, those messages of the overculture, that energetics that presses down on us about uh, the shoulds of how we're supposed to do things in the world around us. So that's different than like microcultures. These are more like the messages society gives us. And I wrote my dissertation about those in relation to birth. For example, one of them that I addressed in my dissertation that then I also brought into Transformed by Birth is the desire for control and the need for certainty. This idea that we can and should try and control everything, when in fact control is an illusion. And so writing my dissertation led me to go, wait, I think there's a book in here. And so I wrote the book. Plus, I've been teaching childbirth classes for over 2 decades. And all of my experiences with families and couples has inspired me to want to reach more people, which writing Transformed by Birth has allowed me to do. What were your influences in creating the rituals and exercises you lay out in your book? Okay, so my classes, definitely in my classes and also through what I've done with parents, my work in studying ritual, studying mythology, and also my love of relationship work. My husband and I have been together for almost 30 years, and using our relationship as a lab of sorts to figure out what helps couples thrive. And I bring that into my book quite a bit because one of the most stressful times for couples is during that transition from being a couple to expanding into being a family. And so I also wanted to bring in a lot of relationship tools for couples to bring into their partnership as well. What's one of the limiting ideals about pregnancy that we've been inundated with? Well, definitely one of the ideals that I spoke about is the ideal of control and certainty. Another one I would say is around the idea that technology can save us. Technology is a powerful tool that can teach us so many things about ourselves and share information for us in supporting our process. But it is not the end all be all. And connecting with the wilderness, that energy that is less controlled, that is body-centric, is incredibly important during pregnancy, during birth, and in postpartum. So this is important, and I address this. I have it's throughout the book, but it's also has a chapter all on its own. And I use some myths and storytelling to help unpack some of that within the book as well. What's one thing every pregnant parent should do to help them have a more transformational experience? Great question. Probably the thing that I would suggest more than anything is to expand expectations. Expand expectations about what labor, birth, and new parenthood might be like, and expand your ideas around what you might do or need to do or not do to move through labor, birth, and postpartum strongly. One of the things, one easy example for this is we are taught early on in pregnancy that we have a due date. and we're given that due date, and we start to fix an idea that our baby will arrive on or right around or by that due date. Except here's the thing. Babies don't know about their due date. Instead, let's expand our expectations and think about a due range, where it's really more like 38 weeks gestation to 42 weeks gestation, which is the frame of time that an on-time baby will come and be born. So if we expand our expectations from adhering to a single date on the calendar and instead think about it in terms of a 4-week window, that's a way to expand our expectations. And expanding our expectations can really help us to meet our expectations. If we narrow our expectations, the possibility of being disappointed or feeling somehow like we didn't get what we wanted or expected, the likelihood of that goes way up. So instead, expand your expectations and imagine yourself doing things to support yourself within that expanded expectation. All right, next question. Ooh, what are a couple of books you read during the pandemic that you really loved? Okay, this is the fun one for me. I have read The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker probably 2 or 3 times at this point. I love it. I think it's a fantastic book for anybody who wants to bring ritual into your regular life. Ritual is a really powerful tool in family life. And Priya Parker's book, The Art of Gathering, gives some ideas about how to bring the power of ritual into our gatherings. So whether you are a teacher or a parent or a business person who has board meetings and meetings with colleagues, The Art of Gathering is a fantastic book for that. Another one is The Power of Ritual by Casper ter. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but another one. I'm a huge fan of ritual and ritual studies, and this is also a book that has inspired some new thinking for me around ritual. And then lastly, a new book that has recently come out called Birthing Liberation. It's this one, Birthing Liberation, which is How Reproductive Justice Can Set Us Free by Sabia Wade, is a fantastic book about birthing liberation and birthing justice from the perspective of a queer Black woman. It's fantastic. I love it, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so that's Birthing Liberation and The Art of Gathering. I've got them right here, so I might as well share them. And The Power of Ritual. Those are 3 recommendations that I have. And can I read you a short passage from my book? Absolutely, I would love to. So I'm going to read you from my well-worn copy. I don't know about you, but I am a book tabber and underliner and a writer in the margins of my book. And so I'm going to read you from my well-worn copy. And this is entitled Entering into Sacred Space. When we enter into the world of birth, we step across the threshold from the mundane to the sacred. Pregnancy and birth are a space between worlds, a liminal space, a place where you are no longer not a parent and not yet one either. This betwixt and between is sacred space, within which powerful and profound events occur, often uninvited. There was a time when a pregnant woman would actually enter a different physical space, a special lodge, confinement room, or birthing hut, to mark their time moving from the mundane world to the sacred. While this sort of noticeable separation no longer makes sense in the lives of modern parents, The profundity of pregnancy and birth as a place between worlds is no less potent. As a modern day parent, if you desire a space of special honoring, you have to create it for yourself while continuing to engage with the everyday world of normal life. When using words like sacred and transcendent in discussions about birth, it's easy to get the impression that the process is lofty in a way that is purely beautiful or enchanting. And while birth can be both beautiful and enchanting, it is often far grittier and earthier than transcendent and sacred imply to modern ears. There is something about birth that, while deeply spiritual and meaningful, is actually grounded in raw and gritty nowness. Ancients understood the sacred to include these darker aspects, but as modern people, we've changed the idea of sacred and transcendent to be photo ready. When people think about birth as a spiritual or transcendent experience, they conjure up images of flowing nightgowns, burning candles, and the feeling of reverence that stunning art, some religious services, and epic nature can invoke. In reality, what is truly spiritual is often far messier than social media ready images imply. Birth, while transcendent, otherworldly, spiritual, and profound, is actually intense hard work that tests our ideas of what spiritual looks like and means. Birth exposes the sacred through the muck, mud, and hardship of something so profoundly animalistic that it makes us into something entirely new. This otherworldly place where great transformation happens is the sacred space of birth. Thank you so much. I hope that you will enjoy Transformed by Birth. Have a read or listen to the audiobook. Thank you so much.